Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 26th of August. I'm going to share some standout details to look out for, but then on screen I'll share the event chart right at the start of the week. They're always influential and we can all relate to this collectively, but then please stay with me. I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces and give you a flavour of what you can expect in terms of your ascendant, sun or the moon. As we start this week, we have a quarter moon. We have two of these a month. As we see it from planet Earth in the sky, a quarter moon looks like a half moon. This is when the sun and the moon are at a 90-degree angle, so they're not really collaborating very well. This one's going to create some excess energy. How are we going to use it? I'll guide you through that. But also this week, we have Mercury stationing direct on Wednesday in the sign of Leo, which is very much about showcasing talents. Mercury's about how we think and how we articulate ideas, how we interact. And going forwards here, it gives us a chance to get something moving, which may have felt a little stuck or got bogged down in recent times. But also Mercury will return back to the sign of Virgo on the 9th of September and emerge from its post-retrograde shadow on the 11th. So I will outline all about that. But Venus is the planet of love, the planet of relating, but also the planet of self-worth, our values and money. And Venus this week is very active. It's coming to the end of its journey through the sign of Virgo and is going to switch into the second of the two signs it rules on Thursday of Libra, which is very much about finding harmony. It's that midpoint between getting what we want but also meeting the needs of the people we interact with. So it's about relating particularly. It can also be about diplomacy and presentation, but just before it moves into the sign of Libra, it forges one of its most dynamic links with the mighty but tiny Pluto, and that's going to give us a real amplification of how we feel about certain relationships. But earlier in the week, Venus forges an electric angle to Uranus, which is very exciting. A more challenging one to Mars perhaps, can certainly turn up the romantic temperature, but a potentially confusing opposition to Neptune before moving into that amazing link with Pluto and gliding into Libra. So Venus is going to be very, very influential in the sign of Virgo. Venus is not at its best. It's known as being in its full. But it's something to celebrate it going into Libra, so I can't wait to share that with you. But as the week draws to a close, the cosmic curtain comes down with two incredibly powerful events. Pluto inverses back in its retrograde to Capricorn. If you recall, Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008, all but 11 weeks last year, and since the 21st of January this year. Through to the 19th of November, we get the last visit of Pluto to Capricorn in our lifetimes. Really powerful. And then also on the same day, Uranus, the planet of freedom, independence, of disruption and higher truths, goes into a retrograde in Taurus, which lasts through to the 30th of January next year. So it's a huge week again. Last week was pretty mighty. This one very powerful too. If you're new to my channel, I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you very much for joining me. It's lovely to have your company. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. This is very much a community. If you're a returning visitor, or your views and interactions, as ever, are truly appreciated. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, I am a consulting astrologer. Please check out my testimonials below. If you'd like to take advantage of my very special Year 2025 Personal Horoscope report offer, you can order it now, get the rest of this year free. But in my special package, you'll get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. This gives you searing insights into the patterns that have played out in your life so far, and a lot more understanding, an intimate understanding of how to work with those natal energies future forwards. Please see the link underneath this video for more. So on the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week. As ever, let's first of all look at the luminaries. The sun's at 3 degrees in the earthy, practical, precise sign of Virgo. But the moon is at 28 degrees in the earthy sign of Taurus, but very close to the electric, restless energies of Uranus. But if we look over to the sign of Virgo, Venus, the planet of relating and money, is linking perfectly to Uranus and the moon. That means as we come into this week, we could feel a bit more frivolous about resources. We may have an impulse to buy something that we find irresistible. It could be a lovely clothing item, perhaps some nice food, perhaps to treat someone that we really like. Also, if there is someone who's capturing our imagination, Uranus brings some urgency into the situation and could give us a little bit of a nudge to perhaps make that first move. In a long-standing relationship, Venus going through Virgo may have revealed some things that don't feel perfect, because Venus is not at its best in Virgo, can be a little cool, and also at the start of this week it's in a right angle with Mars. Mars in the sign of Gemini is very much about quick communications and can be quite earnest, but the picky energy of Virgo suggests we shouldn't try to go too quick if there is someone new we're attracted to. But in an existing relationship, I feel that Uranus and the moon linking back to Venus suggests if things have got a little bit stale and predictable, because the sign of Virgo likes practical gestures in terms of Venus, it could be a great moment to do something really thoughtful to help a partner or a friend, and that actually can be a great way to bring the relationship back to life, to reignite the spark between you. But as Monday goes on, the moon moves forwards into the fleet-footed sign of Gemini, where Jupiter and Mars are residing. Now, the moon in Gemini can be a bit detached, a bit cool, because it's an air sign and it's about fast communication, and the moon's very interested about how things feel, but Gemini can be a little impatient for the moon, so the quarter moon between the third house energy of the moon squaring with the sun in the sixth house energy of Virgo can create quite a lot of extra energy. How do we use that energy in a productive way? Well, we can find with the sun in Virgo the need to reform things, refine things, to improve the structure of things, make them more efficient and virtuous, and that can go all the way to what we're eating and drinking and the amount of exercise we're getting, or if we're in a job that's a little bit unfulfilling, find another one that gives us more personal satisfaction. But the process can mean whatever we try to achieve this week, if we rush it, we can end up feeling quite stressed, because that's what the energy between third and sixth houses does. So what I'd suggest here, if there are things that you are feeling keen to achieve this week, why not write a list of the things, but in the order of priority. Don't give yourself too much to do, particularly if you've been putting something off, because Mars is still going to be heading into a right angle this week that's going to increase through to the 3rd of September with the dreamy drifting energy of Neptune, which you can see at the start of this week goes face to face as the week goes on with Venus. So if you try too hard, I feel Neptune will drain out the thrust that Mars can bring. However, if you have got an idea or a plan that you do want to discuss with someone, and you're very clear about what you want to achieve and want to say, the link between Mars and Mercury, particularly as Mercury goes direct in the proud sign of Leo on Wednesday, is an ideal time to express it with conviction, confidence and enthusiasm. But you really need to have it clear, but most of all, don't try to force the pace. Because there's no doubt about it, when the Sun and initially at the start of this week Venus are in Virgo, people can be a little bit more focused on details to the exclusion of the big picture, but of course they can also be focused on what they perceive as being faults or imperfections. So you need to prepare yourself for that. The enthusiasm of those Gemini planets, including that moon position, won't necessarily overcome the type of person who seems to always drill down and say, but what about this? But if you are really confident of what you've got to say, particularly with Venus going opposite Neptune, then good for you. But around relationships, if you have met someone recently, particularly with that great connection between Uranus and Venus in the early part of this week, don't be too idealistic too quickly. Don't put them on that proverbial pedestal, because Venus goes opposite Neptune, and that can be a bewitching influence, but it can also be one that sees us kid ourselves about the reality. And people who have Venus Neptune harsh influences in their natal chart can often not always weigh up other people quite as clearly as they might, because they want to see what they feel they want to see rather than seeing what the reality is. But then on Thursday, Venus moves into the second of its two home signs of Libra. Venus in Libra is very much about diplomacy, partnership, harmony. It's about not sweating what's different. It's about celebrating commonalities. And if there has been some brittleness or discussions that have been edgy because of Venus's journey through the perfectionist Virgo, it's a great opportunity to let that go and celebrate what you can agree on or what you enjoy doing together. The link with Pluto, however, which occurs on Thursday, is a once in our lifetime event. It's not happened before for 220 years. If we think about Pluto, which is obviously going to invert into Capricorn at the end of this week, in Aquarius, it is shifting in a big way how we all collectively connect. But Venus here suggests that some kind of accord could be in the works. It could be in your personal situation, perhaps even mine, or it could be more globally. And the accord can be for the best. Let's hope some good news does come through for sure. But in terms of your own personal relationships, whether it is in a romantic context or with friends or family members, you're going to feel on Thursday an intensity or an intense awareness of who you really have a strong connection or bond with. And that's worth celebrating for sure. As the week draws to a close and the cosmic curtain comes down, well, Pluto inverses back into Capricorn for one final visit. It's going to emerge on the 19th of November, but the sign of Capricorn is about structures. It is about more traditional structures. It can be big government, big business. It can be about our own preoccupation with status, property, wealth. It's the sign of culmination, but Pluto's the sign of regeneration. So we're going to see regeneration again in big institutions or government through to the 19th of November. It's going to be a very, very powerful time. But also on the same day, Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, slams on the celestial brakes through till January the 30th. If we go back to when Uranus first moved into Taurus in the middle of May 2018, it clashed with Mars, which is on the anaretic degree in Capricorn. It subsequently moved into Aquarius, went into a retrograde. So Mars and Uranus were aggravating each other right from the off. So that was the seed moment of what we've experienced with Uranus since it came back on in March 2019. And from then until now, a lot of instability around finances globally. We've seen a lot of cost increases around commodities, whether it's gas, oil, food, because the sign of Taurus rules agriculture. And what I feel that this retrograde is asking us all to do collectively is revisit our attachment, which is very Tauran, to money or to materialism, and try to be aware of Uranus's mission to make us more conscious of higher truths. So resources, if we consume them without too much thought about, the food chain or the quality or the people who produce things there, the conditions that they work in, if we just focus on the price, and obviously the price is critically important for many of us at the moment, but if we can just become a little bit more aware through to next January into some of our spending decisions, make it more about using resources creatively, such as upcycling or, perhaps buying clothes that aren't new but are very good quality and in very good condition. So that's our little bit of a contribution, and that's what Uranus is asking us to all become much more aware of. So that's the overall week. Venus, the star player for sure, but it's also an opportunity, definitely an opportunity to work on our communications in a way where we're aware of the outcome, the practicalities of the communication. That Virgoan energy has some kind of tangible output which has some worth to us. Have a great week, and please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces. Welcome Aries to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. Now, the sun is asking you to get super practical, but there's still a lot of bubbling energy in the part of your chart to do with quick communications. And if you have got a brilliant idea that you're really enthused about, if you can balance the idea with working out how you're going to actually deliver it in some kind of practical way, that's the perfect combination. But the chance to really be persuasive, enthusiastic, is certainly peaking midweek when Mercury finally ends its retrograde. So if you have found there's been some rejigging around your social or romantic situation of late, things can truly improve because Venus, the planet of relating, moves into your opposite sign on Thursday and forges an amazingly powerful link to Pluto. If there is someone, be it who you network with, a friendship, or in a romantic context, that you really want to see the tie develop, this could be a very meaningful astrological influence. In an existing relationship, it can help you to appreciate what you've got. And sometimes in life, it's about not sweating the small stuff. It's seeing that we do see things sometimes differently, but if you can celebrate the things you have in common with someone, that's a great opportunity. And if you're single, the next few weeks could really be very exciting, but it could be through some kind of group situation or joint interest that you encounter someone who really starts to take your fancy. It could even be through an introduction of a friend. But it is true to say that as this week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of transformation, does reverse back into the most business-like part of your situation. If you have gone through some changes professionally over the last year and a half, I think it's possible that there's a bit more to come. But by November the 19th, you'll be a lot clearer about what your prospects are. Also, with Uranus going retrograde as the week draws to a close, an imaginative approach to your resources is something that can also work well for you. Sometimes we like to stick with what we know, but the world is changing at such a pace. The more we can think outside the proverbial box, try fresh things, things that are a little bit different, the more it can actually work out. So if you have an unusual idea, certainly believe in it. It's been a pleasure being with you, Aries. Have a great week. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Taurus to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. You can find yourself more carefree, perhaps even in the mood to be spontaneous at the start of this week, maybe drawn to have a flutter, splash out on an item that proves irresistible, or is a person beginning to creep up on your senses. Now, this may be someone that you can just have good fun with as a friend, but there may be a romantic dimension. As Mercury, the planet of communication, goes forwards on Wednesday, a little bit of a logjam around a family or property matter can ease, and that can give you extra confidence. But your ruler Venus goes face to face with the planet of mystique as this week goes on, and that really can be very exciting for you. But if there is someone who really is capturing your imagination, just know that once Venus, your ruler, the planet of relating, moves on Thursday into the sign of Libra, that will help you to be just a little bit more earthed about appraising whether this person could be good for you or not. Now, as the week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of change, the planet of transformation, but also consequences, inverts back into your sector of travel and higher education. Think back to 2008. There's probably been lots of new experiences that you've encountered. You have a window of opportunity to re-engage with this part of your situation through to the 19th of November. But Uranus, the planet of disruption, which has been with you full time since March 2019, goes into retrograde as the week draws to a close. If you do feel that you're penned in a situation and your personal freedom and ability to really manifest your individual hopes is in some ways constrained, this retrograde through to the 30th of January will give you lots of food for thought. And of course it depends exactly where your planetary positions are, but broadly for Taurus people, you've been pushed to break free of anything that's felt like it's holding you back. Whether it's your own thinking, whether it's your own attitudes, because you have got a preference for stability, Uranus is really asking you some more questions from now through to the early part of next year about whether you could be a little bit more daring of exploring outside of your comfort zone. Have a great week, Taurus. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Gemini to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If we want to achieve a key goal in life, we have to really focus and be really single-minded. This week is a point in case for you. The quarter moon in your sign on Monday and also the presence of the thrusting Mars and the expansive Jupiter in Gemini as a collective are asking you to focus on what your individual hopes are. But that may mean blocking out some dissenting voices or other distracting needs and demands. But as the week goes on, if you can, as Mars links with your ruler Mercury, which goes forwards after a complex retrograde, that will give you tremendous conviction and can help you to showcase your ideas in a very compelling and enthusiastic way. By Thursday, Venus, the planet of relating, moves into the most glamorous and even romantic part of your scope. Now, it's also going to be forging a very dynamic link to Pluto. Pluto's in the part of your chart to do with expansion, travel, knowledge, but perhaps also linking with people who maybe are a little different. If there is someone who is capturing your imagination, that single-mindedness that the quarter moon, Mars and Jupiter are urging you to seize can be your chance to make a mark, but it may mean pushing outside where you feel really comfortable. But the great thing about Venus moving into your 5th house is you can start to feel really even more gorgeous. Your sex appeal is on the up, and it can be a great opportunity to try to choose some new clothes to just up the glamour factor in your equation. But as the week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of transformation, does invert into your 8th house. This is a very deep area where Pluto was through till the 21st of January. Through to the 19th of November, anything to do with shared resources, legacies, investments, but also understanding your psychological world more deeply are going to come to the fore, particularly with Uranus, the planet of surprises, slamming on the celestial brakes as the week draws to a close through to the end of January next year. Now, Uranus has been in a very delicate part of your situation since March 2019. If you have found it at times a little bit more difficult to relax or sleep, or a lot of psychological stuff has come up over that period, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. The retrograde is asking you to engage with what Uranus is truly about, and that's higher truths. The 12th house can be the parts of life that we're a bit reluctant to look at, our shadow side, but also our fears and anxieties. If you can be more availing to these, it's a great chance to expand your emotional understanding. And as Uranus goes direct at the end of next January, you can deal with the last passage of Uranus passing through your 12th house much more successfully. He's actually going to arrive in your sign on the 7th of July next year in a sensational way, forging amazing links with other big players. You've got that to look forwards to. It's the first blush of Uranus into your sign, but this is a week when you do have a choice. You can get caught up in being attuned to some of the needs and situations at the root of your life, or some worldly interactions. But if you are trying to do something more for you, the individual, this is a week when you can take charge if you show the conviction. Have a great week, Gemini. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome, Cancer. It's your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. If you're someone who really appreciates privacy and discretion, just be aware this week that if you're tempted to open up about a tender matter to the wrong person, they could, even inadvertently, be a little bit indiscreet. So if there's something you do need to talk about, make sure it is with a trusted confidant. You could also find yourself thinking about something from your past, and your mind can be quite busy with this matter. But it's also an opportunity to try to process an outstanding hurt, perhaps to do with a past separation. But on Wednesday, Mercury, the planet of communication, but also of marketing, Mercury goes direct. It's been in a retrograde and recently in a part of your situation to do with everyday money. If there has been some tangles around what you've bought or sold, it wouldn't be a surprise, but things can settle down from now. But on Thursday, Venus, known as being the planet of relating and money, Venus moves into the part of your scope to do with your home. Now, Venus is actually also very much to do with aesthetics, how we present things, quality furnishings. Don't be surprised if you're keen to get out the paint charts and give your abode an upgrade. Also, it could be a time when you're attracted to some new soft furnishings. And all of this can help to increase your sense of serenity right at the core of your situation. But as the week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of transformation, inverts back into your sector of relationships. From 2008 through to the 21st of January this year, apart from 11 weeks in 2023, Pluto was going through this area. there may have been some very potent interactions, maybe some big attractions, but also big breakdowns in some key relationships. Because Pluto is the planet of power. The seventh house is where we set our boundaries, but it's also where we open up and engage. So it can be where we can get most wounded by others. Now, Pluto is going to be back in this area through to the 19th of November. And with that energy in your 12th house, this change could see you thinking even deeper about some of the politics of those relationships over all those years. But with Uranus, the planet of higher truths, going into a retrograde in your sector of friendship and your long-term life plan, through to the end of January next year, you could decide to do something of an about turn, something that you've been working towards that may have been really inspiring you. You may reach that goal or that target, but actually as you do, realise that you've changed inside and you want to aspire to something else. This is quite normal for us to experience, but Uranus is very much about higher truths. And of course, we're all evolving, if we choose, all of the time. So there can be a lot of change going on for you over the next few months around relationships, but particularly in your case to do with friendships. Have a great week, Cancer. All the best. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Leo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. Mercury goes direct in your sign this week. If you go back to the 3rd of July when Mercury, the planet of thought and talk, entered your sign, the chances are you were developing some very exciting ideas or started to get really enthused about an interest or hobby. Then Mercury moved into the sign of Virgo, which is where you get the outcome for all that creativity, but in a more practical way. But the whole thing may have got quite bogged down. Mercury inverting back into your sign has asked you to do some rethinking. But now, after all the amendments, you can start to travel forwards, particularly if you're wanting to express a particularly exciting idea to you. And if it does involve linking up with others, Mercury's connection to Mars in your sector of friendships this week certainly gives you a key opportunity to do that. But there is a bit of a catch, because there could be someone in your circle, another person, who you have gone on well with in the past, but you're beginning to see that maybe their values or approach to your resources are diverging. Sometimes this happens. We can get on with people at a certain level, then a bit like the planets going round, we start to see certain patterns, and then we decide that we need to pull away a little bit. So there could be some of that going on this week too. But on Thursday, Venus, the planet of relating, moves into a part of your situation which can give you even added charm when it comes to your communication. If there is something that you want to express to someone, its link to Pluto on Thursday is very powerful indeed. Now this could be discussing a business deal. It may be someone that you're attracted to romantically, but if you're genuine and sincere in what you're saying and how you're feeling, it could be a very, very important day for you. But as the week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of transformation, inverts back into your sector of obligations and responsibilities. If you think back to 2008, there's been a vast period of time when I feel that you've had to sacrifice what you've wanted as an individual for the greater good. Now you've had an opportunity to interact with people much more powerfully for 11 weeks last year and since the 21st of January this year. It doesn't mean to say you can't continue to do this, but if there are some revisions that you could make to your lifestyle, some of the habits that have become perhaps habitual that are not so good for you, particularly in terms of your health and fitness, Pluto gives you a chance to transform through to the 19th of November. But there may be some obligations to others, But this time around, I think you could find yourself being a bit more resistant to just instantly complying to what other people need. And part of the reason for that, Leo, is Uranus. The planet of surprises goes into a powerful retrograde as the week closes too. That's pushing you to continue to evolve your worldly interactions in a way which is really authentic to you. Now, that's not to say in the past you weren't meaning what you were doing. It's just that Uranus pushes us to be a little bit more daring, not worry so much what people think about us. You have an innate need to be respected, loved to be admired, and of course adored to be loved. But Uranus is saying, forget all that. Focus on what you need to do for you. And the fact that Pluto goes into house 6 suggests you can get the details right. Some kind of novel plan or new business idea or career can really shape up very dynamically for you through to the 30th of January next year. Have a great week, Leo. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you Syrian insights. Please check out my special offer below. Virgo, it's your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. The arrival of the sun in your sign last week to join up with Venus was encouraging you to get in touch with those creative strands where you can showcase your talent and flair. But this week begins with the moon very high in your chart, aligned with Mars and Jupiter. And they're suggesting that if you want to raise your profile and be ambitious and go for a big goal or target, you have an opportunity to do that. But will you want to? Because the sun in your sign, particularly if you're a natural bohemian, is really encouraging you to stay with what feels right for you, the individual. And if it means adapting to fit in with a big corporation or how things are done in a very set or planned way, that may not appeal to you. Also, someone you're close to may not completely be all in when it comes to a big goal or ambition you've got. Still, on Wednesday, as Mercury, your ruler, ends a retrograde in a very tender part of your scope, which may have seen you feel isolated, cut off, or even a bit detached from others, that's going to ease. It'll be on the 9th of September that you'll really come into the moment. But as this week goes on Thursday, Venus glides out of your sign and into Libra. This can trigger an almost immediate uptick in your finances. It also forges an amazing link to Pluto, so this could be linked to a job offer, but equally you may find it very difficult over the next few weeks to resist anything that's remotely yummy. So if you are on a strict diet plan, just know that Venus can tempt you. As the week draws to a close, there's a lot of creativity, to be honest. Pluto, the planet of transformation, since the 21st of January, has been asking you or pushing you in some ways to rethink something that you're very good at and can almost do automatically. It may be to do with your life routines or your work. Now, whether you've been caught up in some changes in that area depends on your unique situation. But if you feel there's more to come from you in terms of your individual talents, Pluto inverting into your sister Earth sign of Capricorn through to the 19th of November gives you a great chance to think again. Also with Uranus, also in a fellow Earth sign of Taurus, going into a retrograde as the week draws to a close. Uranus is about freedom essentially, but it's also about higher truths. And in the 9th house, that's very much about travel, exploration, independence, adventure. And if you feel that your life lacks those kind of qualities through to the end of January, that's what you're being encouraged to look at. So this week gives you an option. You can aim high and go for it, but it may mean fitting in and melding in with what someone else wants, or you can stick to your plan, but either way, someone may object at some kind of level. So As the week draws to a close, I feel why not celebrate the fact that at least your finances will be looking stronger for you, Virgo. Have a great week. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Libra to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. Venus is your lovely ruler. It sachets into your sign on Thursday. It's something to truly appreciate and also celebrate. If you thought about giving yourself some kind of makeover or buying some new clothes or giving yourself a new haircut, this is a glorious opportunity to manifest that. But also Venus is going to link to Pluto in your sister air sign of Aquarius, which for you is very much about sociability and also romance. A powerful connection or a date, if you have it around the end of this week, could prove to be truly fated. But in an existing relationship, if things have been difficult or bumping along the bottom, your desire to speak your truth is going to be really strong this week. And even if someone finds that difficult or it does create some tender dilemmas, I don't feel that you're going to hold back, but it can create some tensions. Fortunately, if your aim is liberation from something that just isn't working, and you really feel sure that that's the case, Mars in your ninth house can help you to break free in its link with Mercury, and Mercury going direct on Wednesday can all be part of speeding up the process. Because Mercury's in the part of your situation to do with your long-term future, your network and your friendships, and it may be someone who's really going to encourage you to do what's really right for you. You may even think about going away together and having a holiday if it gives you the space to clear your mind and decide what your romantic priorities are. But of course, if your romance is going really well, I feel that Venus moving into your sign just ends a period when things may have been a bit cooler, perhaps a bit quieter, a bit more reflective, but you can find the spark again with your partner as Venus applies to Pluto. But as the week draws to a close, big drama as Pluto inverts back into house 4. Of all the zodiac signs, I feel that Libra people felt the presence of Pluto in Capricorn the most powerfully since 2008, all but those 11 weeks last year and from the 21st of January this year. So you may be sucking your breath in a little bit if you really are into astrology and you knew about Pluto. Pluto's about transformations, but it's also about power. If you've been on the end of somebody's unfair use of power, possibly a family member or over a property matter, that may have been the case. And there could be the potential for that over the weeks until the 19th of November. But just remember how much knowledge you've accumulated. And it's knowledge about setting your boundaries, because you can be someone who's very giving and very obliging and very aware of other people's needs. And what Pluto's been teaching you is to make sure not that you're selfish, but you're certainly aware of protecting your emotional needs. That's a fundamentally important thing for any person to do. Also, Uranus, the planet of surprises, puts on the celestial breaks on the same day through to the end of January next year. That's house 8. That's where we're most invested. Is there a link? Is there a need to separate yourself from something where you've been all in, but the other person hasn't? That could be financially, in terms of an imaginative business or financial scheme, or it could be romantically. It may be about a property matter, but you're going to go through a period of deep reflection, but it won't be without some fun. And Venus moving into your sign is going to give you a huge boost of confidence, and you're going to find a lot of people are going to be drawn to you over the next few weeks. Your popularity is going to go up, and that's going to be very pleasant indeed. Have a great week, Libra. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome, Scorpio, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. The week begins with a very powerful set of planetary energies emphasizing the part of your chart which is to do with where you're all in or where there's going to be some transformations. The quarter moon here could make you much more conscious of some of the machinations and politics around the group situation. And if you feel it has become all a little bit heavy, by the end of the week you could find yourself wanting to withdraw a little bit just to reflect on who is the most sincere people that it's worth staying with. But conversely, at the start of this week, you could find yourself compelled towards someone that you may have some doubts, but may find them irresistible. And part of the reason for that is your ruler Mars is squaring up with Venus. But as Venus proceeds through this week, it goes face to face with Neptune. That's a very idealistic link. It could be that you want to see the best in someone with that, or you will have a magical connection. It really does depend on the unique circumstances. But professionally, Mercury, which has been retracing its steps in your sector of success since the middle of August, goes direct at the heart of this week. It too forges a great link to your ruler Mars. If you do need to discuss a contract, you can do so with confidence and clarity. But then Venus, at the very end of this week, moves on Thursday into a much more sheltered part of your situation. Whether it is somebody new that you're ruminating about, or it is an ongoing relationship, you may just want to have a few moments for yourself. The link with Venus and your modern ruler Pluto suggests you can really, if you take the time, really get down into what's what and understand what your motives are and those of someone else. But as the week ends, Pluto inverts back into the part of your chart that's to do with quick communications, your connection to your immediate environment. Pluto's the planet of consequences. If there has been a lot of charged up energy that's been playing out, perhaps with siblings or neighbours since 2008, you're going to find out what the outcome of all of that is through to the 19th of November, when Pluto then goes back into your fourth house. But also Uranus, the planet of surprises, slams on the celestial brakes as this week ends through to the end of January next year. And this really ups the stakes when it comes to those relationship matters. Because even if you have found someone really dazzling and great fun to be with, Uranus is about freedom. Are you in danger of giving away yours to the wrong person? Or is it in a situation where you just need to assert your individuality so you don't become too codependent? So Uranus going retrograde and Venus moving into your 12th house of reflection will certainly give you food for thought. It is possible for some Scorpio people. I can't guarantee what the outcome could be, but it is possible for some that a connection with someone from your past or your recollection can just seem that much more enriched and vivid with someone from your past from the end of this week. But doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right thing for you to do. So it's just an option, but it's an option that you would have to explore on your own terms. Have a great week, Scorpio. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. There seems to be a little bit of an archetype in popular astrology that you're a sign that can be quite blunt Do you think that's fair? One thing I can tell you is that this week you could find yourself wanting to firm up your boundaries, and why not? The quarter moon on Monday is in your sector of relating, but also Mars, which can be a feisty influence, and Jupiter, your ruler, are in this sector too. But all three are having to deal with other contra energies. Some of them to do with your home and emotional world, some of them to do with your professional interface. But if you feel that somebody or people have been taking your goodwill somewhat for granted, you may want to just say it as it is. But you can choose your words with care. If you really measure what you say, it will actually have a lot more impact. In fact, Mercury, the planet of communication, has been retracing its steps for some while, but since the middle of August in the part of your chart to do with principles, but also to do with higher education and travel. If you've encountered frustration around those areas, or you've been waiting to hear about a contract or an agreement, it wouldn't be a surprise if you have been feeling somewhat on edge. Mercury goes direct on Wednesday, but Mars then forges a very dynamic link to Mercury. So if you measure those words, mean what you say, and say what you mean, other people will see that actually you're really invested in expressing your point of view, but in a balanced way. And that's much more likely to create a greater sense of equilibrium. In fact, later this week, Sagittarius, Venus, the planet of relating and of diplomacy, moves into a very friendly part of your chart. It's going to be great for your social situation in the weeks ahead. But even on Thursday, if you do discuss something about your future hopes, and it could be a financial matter as much as a social plan, the chances are others will see the value of what you can offer. But as the week draws to a close, Pluto, the planet of change, but also of consequences, inverts into your sector of everyday finance, where it had been for over 11 weeks through to the 21st of January since 2008. You've got another window of opportunity to reform this area, but also reform your values and self-worth. Pluto can seem to take things away from us, but only the things that we don't actually really need, but we're not always conscious of the need for that change. And also Uranus, the planet of surprises, has been very disruptive for you full-time since March 2019 in terms of your work, your life structure, perhaps even in terms of health. It's just all seemed to be a bit helter-skelter at times. Well, Uranus goes into a retrograde through to the end of January next year. It could be that Pluto inverting into your second house of everyday money and Uranus inverting in your sixth house of work and obligations suggests more refinements are needed. But those refinements will all be for the good at the end of the process. But it could require you to be aware that even though you are a freedom lover, there may be some sacrifices or alterations that you'll have to make in order to make your life work that much more efficiently. It's been a pleasure being with you, Sagittarius. Have a great week. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Capricorn to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. Words and communication continue to be very important, particularly for your sign. Now, I know that Mercury, the planet that controls that, has been in retrograde, but that does go direct at the heart of this week. If you have been waiting for news on a financial situation and it seems to have dragged on, you can get the green light right at the heart of this week. But what's going to happen also at the start of this week is some practical demands can compete with some of those conversations, but also your need for a little bit of space and independence. The quarter moon on Monday squares up with the sun in your freedom-loving ninth house. The Sun, and initially this week Venus, are asking you to enjoy a little bit of space and independence. But along comes some kind of reminder about something that someone expects you to attend to. It's not the best of weeks to agree to cover for a colleague, to do a favour, if inside you're actually feeling a little bit of resistance, because that could turn into a sense of resentment. So just be aware that promising more than you can realistically deliver is not the best of things for you personally. So that's when it can be difficult. We need to just say no. But as the week goes on, if you are wanting to grapple with that financial plan or idea, that part of you, which can be very self-assured around resources, can really spring to life. And there could be an opportunity that manifests itself in a very exciting, even speedy way. Now, Venus, the planet of relating, but also of money, moves right to the top of your chart on Thursday, but it links with Pluto. Pluto, just in the last few days of its time in the sign of Aquarius, in your second house of everyday money, your ability to get on with people is going to be just as important as your talent as this week draws to a close. But if you are discussing something to do with a property matter, you could get a nice balance between the practicality of the plan and getting the right kind of outcome. So that could be if you're wanting to make some structural or decorative changes or move altogether. But as the week draws to a close, a major event. Pluto, the planet of transformation, of truth, but also of power, inverses back into your sign through to the 19th of November. Now, if your Sun or other personal planets are towards the end of Capricorn, you are going to feel the intensity of this a lot more. So it's a potent moment, but also it's a reminder about some of the things that you've gone through since 2008 in terms of your evolution. Are there some strands that aren't quite to the point you really want them to be? Because if that's the case, this is a chance to go again. Also, Uranus, the planet of surprises, goes into a retrograde in the very creative but also potentially speculative fifth house of your chart through to the end of January. If you have been trying to find a new source of income or a way to express your skills and talents and you haven't quite found exactly the right outlet, this is another window of opportunity, but it may require you to do something that's different, fresh, innovative. And if you are someone who's more adhered to particular patterns and structures, that can feel a little bit challenging. But if you can be a little bit more daring through to the end of January, you could surprise yourself by just how radical but exciting this could be for you. Have a great week, Capricorn. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Aquarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. The week begins with a cluster of energy in House 5, your sister air sign of Gemini. This can be very playful for you, very sociable, very interactive, but it's also where you can showcase your talent. But if there's anything you're thinking of doing that will have a cost attached to it, other planetary influences are asking you not to rush, because you could be tempted to speculate as the week begins, or even to splash out on something. But remember that old saying, buy in haste, repent at leisure. So if you slow things down, as Mars moves forwards and Mercury goes direct right at the heart of the week, if there is something that you need to explore or talk about, things really start to clear, particularly around a relationship matter which may have felt really quite bogged down, particularly from the middle of August. That's because of Mercury going direct, but also at the heart of this week there is a hazy link between Venus and Neptune. If you are unsure about the facts of a matter around a financial investment or opportunity, just wait until Thursday. Venus may be the planet of relating, but it's also the planet of money, and it moves then into the part of your scope to do with your ability to analyse the details, and you're going to do so with a lot of clarity with the help of Pluto in your sign. Now, this combination between the two is for the first time in over 220 years between these two signs. If there is someone that you're really compelled to be in touch with, whether it's professionally or personally, I think you're going to come across in a very meaningful way. But also, as the week draws to a close, your modern ruler of Uranus inverts in the sign of Taurus. So through till the 30th of January, some of the disruption that you've encountered around your family life or home situation since March 2019 full time, you may need to visit this again. Are there some amendments to where you're living? Could you create more space, for example? Uranus loves space, and it could be by just using your imagination, moving the furniture around, decluttering. Perhaps if you work from home, creating a spot within your abode that's a bit more private. Or are you someone that needs to detach a little bit from some family members that perhaps have been creating too many demands upon you? All of those options are possible. If you have moved a few times in recent years, or things have just felt very unsettled emotionally, you get another chance to think about what your higher truth is around your emotional affairs. And this is reinforced also on Sunday by Pluto inverting back into Capricorn for one last pass. It won't happen again in any of our lifetimes, and it's going to go on through till November the 19th. But for you, it can be deeply psychological, particularly if you're born right at the start of the sign of Aquarius. There may be some issues that do need to be worked through to let go of things that are no longer serving your greater good. So it's a week that gives you opportunities to demonstrate how talented you are, but also to be aware of the value of things, both emotionally but also financially. But some kind of connection at the end of this week around a financial matter with Venus's help or a personal matter can be clarified for you. Have a great week, Aquarius. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below. Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 26th of August for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. The Sun and at the start of this week Venus are emphasizing your relationships. That could be in terms of close ties or people you're friendly with, even colleagues. But things can feel a lot more emotional than usual. Part of the issue could be that within the equation, Saturn in your sign, which can be quite a limiting influence, could be having an impact on your physical vitality. Also, Neptune may be making you a lot more sensitive. As this week goes on, Mars could see you being a bit feistier. But the great thing about Mars combining with Mercury, which goes direct on Wednesday, if there is a physical or practical domestic matter that you need to move forwards with, the combination of those two can give you the brain power, but the drive to actually get things moving. But right at the heart of this week, Venus in your sector of relating is face to face with Neptune. If there is someone who's truly captivating you, you need to make sure, Pisces, that it really feels right. It could even be to do with a property that you're interested in letting or buying. If you're trying to negotiate with someone, it could feel like you're not getting quite all of the information you want. The good news is that on Thursday, Venus dies deep. Venus isn't just about relationships, it is about money. And as it moves forwards from Neptune, it's going to help you in the weeks to come to get much more understanding of what the true motivations are. But it does forge a formidable link to Pluto, which can be a truth finder. So something that seems opaque and rather confusing and out of reach at the start of this week, by the end of the week, I feel that you will have deciphered exactly what's what. Also, Uranus slams on the celestial brakes as the week ends. Uranus is a disruptive influence, but essentially it's a force for good. It's pushing us all to maintain our independence, but also find our higher purpose and truth. It gives us insights. Since 2019 full time, it's been in your sector of ideas, but also your connection with neighbours. So for example, if things were a little bit too clubbable before and you didn't really get the space you needed, you may have found a greater need to maintain your boundaries, perhaps even with siblings too. However, the converse can be true. Perhaps you've pitched in and been much more connected to people in your community. But it's all about what the truth is for you around your ideas. So Uranus going retrograde through to the end of January suggests that you may think again about certain belief systems, your connection to certain people. You may develop some more radical ideas. You may even find yourself being more restless, but can use this in a constructive way by getting more physically active. But also on the same day, Pluto, the planet of change and transformation, inverts out of the 10th to 12th house into house 11. This is going to ask you some serious questions from then until the 19th of November about what you really want from your long-term future. If things have evolved and you've achieved certain goals and milestones, but they no longer hold the same value as before, it may be time to reassess, and this is the time you can do it. But Venus at the end of this week does forge a very powerful link to Pluto, and that's what's going to tease into the open all sorts of insights, whether it is around relationships, about money, about that property matter, even about your emotional needs. Have a great week, Pisces. You can also get the rest of year 2024 free in terms of your personal forecast if you order your year 2025 transits now. You can get 30% off and also your life roadmap report. All of this will give you searing insights. Please check out my special offer below.